What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on this motherfucking YouTube shit. Wow, what the fuck?
What's up? It's your boy Can't Tell You Do Shit. Hey man, say man, we are Liddy, turn. Motherfucking day. You're hitting outside. Big crip in it. Gang shit hitting outside shit, man. Free Palestine, free Congo, Russia, do your thing, and Texas, stand the fuck up. These days, you ready to be a better version of yourself? Now let's not bring you down, let's fight back. Now let's not tell you are boss and put yourself in the position you belong. Stay humble. You're on the revolution, on the movement. Keep Yahweh first. Coming to the black Hebrew Israelite as a real Jew. Alright. Today, it's motherfucking day. You're hitting outside. Big crip in it. Gang shit hitting outside shit, man. Alright, gang. So, this is about Ynwmelly, man. We've been watching his court date, man. And y'all know a lot of drama been happening, man. Basically, man, you know, his lawyer, man, is basically on stand, man. And you know, Ynwmelly facing the death penalty. So his lawyer attorney is on stand because they try to say she tried to set up some of the witnesses and the informant to get taken out. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's kind of fucking up, you know what I'm saying, the court case for the people. You get what I'm saying? So, Ynwmelly, they got into another court case, and it's a heated debate. They trying to do a retrial. You know what I'm saying? They trying to do a retrial with because so much shit just keep on happening. You know, they already did a trial. They already did not a retrial, but you know they trying to set a new trial date. They had a date, but they trying to reset it. You know, they did a trial before, and it was a messed up trial. So they doing another trial, and man, this shit looking crazy. His girlfriend got locked up, and she got ankle monitor on her. This shit is getting tough, man. We got a video that's kind of going over what happened with Ynwmelly and why he in jail and what really happened. This shit, like if you look at the second video, it really shows you why his girlfriend is locked up and why this shit is happening, why she in the court, man. Why she had a warrant. Alright, gang. Let's look at Ynwmelly attorney battle with the judge in Heaton hearing. Did his girl get on the stand, bitch?
This is a death penalty case. He's a death penalty defendant.
Death penalty?
Yes, but it says here the trial court must either conduct an inquiry to determine whether the asserted conflict of interest will impair the defendant's Sixth Amendment right or appoint separate counsel.
That's Mr. Deming's decision. And the last time you all got almost hysterical that you didn't even want me to talk to him about it. You want me to talk to him about it today?
But you have not conducted any inquiry, with all due respect.
The inquiry is with your client, sir.
No.
It's not my job to investigate.
The trial court must either conduct an inquiry.
The latest Ynwmelly hearing got super heated. Attorneys and the judge got into a tense back and forth over one of Melly's defense attorneys.
I can tell there's a conflict.
Man.
The same law enforcement agency that the same state attorney's office that's trying to impose the death penalty on him is conducting a criminal investigation against one of his lawyers. So I can save you all that trouble. There obviously is a conflict.
Melly was called into court on Friday because of a motion for an emergency hearing. His retrial has been pushed back and back and back again. Now,
they pushed it back again?
Then Melly sued the Broward County Sheriff's Office for cruel treatment. Now one of his attorneys, who seemingly appears to be his favorite, could get pushed off the case. It's no secret Melly appears to take a liking to his lead attorney, Raven Liberty. Despite facing 2 first-degree murder charges and facing the death penalty, at his first trial, the two were seen on camera being chummy. Again, despite the high stakes he's facing. Now, that was all back in the summer of 2023. Fast forward to 2025, his retrial is right around the corner. But could an issue cause Melly's attorney, Raven Liberty, to be removed from the case? So here's what happened. Last month, it was reported that Raven Liberty was under investigation by the Broward County Sheriff's Office on allegations of witness tampering. It's important to stress here, she has not been criminally charged. But here's the problem. It's unclear what their investigation is all about. However, it seems serious enough for the judge to ask Melly if he wants her to stay on his case. Even the rest of Melly's attorneys were pushing to learn the full extent of the investigation, and that came to a head at Friday's hearing.
This issue, and I agree with you, it's a very important issue, but this is a discussion that you all have to have with your client. I don't have anything to do with it.
And of course, we have no ability to investigate secret doings of the state attorney and BSO that we don't have the right to see. So I just wanted to bring to your honor's attention that it's somewhat of a dilemma here, and that we'll file who we can and see what we can get. But right now we're at a real loss to be able to represent Mr. Demings the way he needs to be represented. So
Judge, if I may add on to that just briefly, essentially because the one portion of this case that I took on and actually have been, lots of money was put into training me on this very issue of these phones, right? So I know what they would have got off of this iPhone. They would have got information regarding my emails. I'm assuming there's further emails, Florence, to my email accounts. I am concerned, going off what he says, that there's communications between my experts. Almost all my communications are on my emails with my experts, motions, depositions from other cases. So there will be further inquiry to that, and I think we're granted to that. But looking at the court's
Ynwmelly out here like, man, what the fuck going on?
The name of the case, but the basis was saying that it's been, 14, 15 months at this point. There's no imminent arrest. So I read it as you're finding that there is no criminal investigation, and that was the basis of not letting us have the affidavit. The initial time was.
That's not correct. If this was the statute, the state would have been right. I just found that the state hasn't done anything, and based on the particular procedural posture of this case, whatever it is that they got as a result of this, they got it over a year ago. So if they wanted to charge you with something or arrest you, they've had a year to do that. I'm not going to sit around and wait for them to make that decision. They obviously haven't made the decision. The statute says if there was an ongoing case, you wouldn't be entitled to any of this.
Okay, fair enough, Judge.
So I'm just complying with what the statute.
May I speak? Sure. When we were here the first time on the case, I'm the one that brought it forward, the motion, and you asked me what my authority was. I had cited to the court the case of Rutledge versus State, 150 Southern 3rd, 830, 2014. You asked me what my specific authority was, and I said the 6th Amendment and the 14th Amendment. I'd like to read from Rutledge, if I might. At the risk of being redundant, we once again emphatically state that when a pretrial disclosure of possible conflict of interest is raised,
what the fuck going
the trial
on?
court must either conduct an inquiry to determine whether the asserted conflict of interest will impair the defendant's Sixth Amendment right or appoint separate counsel. So with all due respect to this court, Your Honor, that's your job, is to find out whether or not there is a conflict and for you to help in the investigation. We don't have the power. Without the court's help, we'll never know if there's a conflict until possibly it's too late. So you are the person that is supposed to look into the matter for us.
I don't agree with you at all, sir. Your case says Mr. Demings is entitled to be told that there's an ongoing investigation. There is an ongoing investigation, and I told him that the last time I had a discussion with him directly. After that, Figueroa Santa Bria completely controls. This is a death penalty case. He's a death penalty defendant. It's his decision.
Yes, but it says here the trial court must either conduct an inquiry to determine whether the asserted conflict of interest will impair the defendant's Sixth Amendment right or appoint separate counsel.
Well, that's Mr. Demings' decision. And the last time you all got almost hysterical that you didn't even want me to talk to him about it. You want me to talk to him about it?
She looked heated.
You have not conducted any inquiry, with all due respect to
The inquiry is with your client, sir.
This ain't no game.
It's not my job to
The
investigate.
trial court must either conduct an inquiry.
Yeah, that's with Mr. Demings. That's the inquiry.
No,
I can tell there's a conflict. there's a conflict, all right? The same law enforcement agency that the same state attorney's office that's trying to impose the death penalty on him is conducting a criminal investigation against one of his lawyers. So I can save you all that trouble. There obviously is a conflict.
Damn! Y'all just hear that shit he said? Then they trying to get that nigga the death penalty.
So what's the resolution
And they trying to
that
fight his
Melly's
lawyer.
defense team is asking for? Well, as they've made it clear, they want the judge to step in.
What did you want me to do, Mr. Ernst? You want to start deposing witnesses?
Deposing witnesses have inquired. I want you to inquire of the state what evidence that they have of a conflict, so we know, in fact, that there's a conflict or not.
The state says there's a conflict too.
Well, they say my client, they say my client's guilty, but he's entitled to a trial first.
They filed a motion that said I'm supposed to remove her. They think I get to decide who's Mr. Deming's lawyer is, not Mr. Deming's. I couldn't agree with that. I couldn't disagree with that more.
So they trying to tell the nigga, hey,
I believe
they want the lawyer gone.
You have an obligation to ferret out what the conflict is so that we can make an informed decision. Right now, we can make no decision. Right now, we can file no motions because we don't know whether we're subject to the conflict at all. Right now, our hands are tied. It's up to the court. You're the gatekeeper for all. I'm imploring the court to find out what the nature of the conflict is so that we can advise our client. Right now, you're just saying to our client, hey, the state says there's a conflict, so you could get rid of your lawyer or keep your lawyer. That's not enough. That's not a Sixth Amendment protections. You want him to make a decision in a vacuum. This is a murder case.
Sir, with all due respect, this isn't a vacuum. He can sit down with Miss Liberty. You can sit down with Miss Liberty. She's well aware of who she's emailed. She's well aware of who she's called. She's well aware of what's on these records. So talk to your client. It's incumbent on you all to fully inform your client. That's not my job. That's your job. So tell him what's on there, and then tell him what the conflict is, and he makes a decision. I had this discussion with Mr. Devin. The conflict.
So they trying to say, hey, if they want to kill you with the motherfucking attorney, they can.
But it's in her best interest. Okay? You all know what you're doing. I'm not going to do your job. You have to do your job.
No job, Judge. With all due respect, I want you to do your job. And I don't believe the court is. I think the court is shirking its responsibility.
I disagree with you, sir, but you can file whatever appropriate written motion you want. I'll give you a hearing on it, and you can seek appellate authority to a higher court if you think I've done something wrong.
Thank you.
Will the court at least inquire from the state if the investigation is still ongoing as we sit here today?
It is ongoing. They told you that the last time.
But they trying to get his attorney out the paint. Y'all know they were trying to say that she was trying to put like death threats or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Set the people up
I have no idea.
who was going against him.
Discussion that you all need to have. I don't have anything to do with this.
We can't discuss if we don't know the nature of the conflict that they're alleging, other than she's under investigation. That doesn't cut it, Judge.
They said, hold on, sir. Again, with all due respect, they told you the last time on the record it was regarding this case because I asked.
Yeah, the lawyer trying to murder all the detective. That's what they were trying to say.
Regarding alleged criminal
Damn.
conduct. This case that has to do with Mr. Devins, and they said yes. So that's what it's about.
Well, then under discovery for Mr. Devins, they're required to give us that information. Anything that is relevant to the guilt or innocence.
Witness tampering.
Yeah, well,
I agree with you.
okay. And if it's related to the murder case and the tampering case, under 3.220, they got to give us that information.
File a motion to compel under
Boy.
3.220.
We want
With particularity, tell the state this is what I want. Either they're going to give it to you or not, and if they don't, set it for a hearing.
Yes, sir.
On any available date. I'm imploring you all to set these for hearings. That's why it's giving you dates for all pending motions.
The difficulty is, Your Honor, that since we're on notice of a conflict, a potential conflict, technically we should not be filing any additional motions until that issue is resolved. I think we're bound by the Florida rules of evidence.
Okay. Anything else from the defense today?
No, sir.
Okay.
And while that essentially wrapped up Melly's hearing, there was still one more thing.
Defense, let me ask Mr. Adelstein or whoever else wants to answer this. At 1:30 this afternoon, I have to deal with Mariah Hamilton. I have some motions on her behalf, so she's going to be present. I think your client's entitled to be present if he wants to be. But if he doesn't,
Boy, they trying to get that bitch for witness tampering.
he wants to be
Boy, you gonna need your ride or die though. I ain't gonna care.
So Melly wanted to attend the hearing of his ex-girlfriend Mariah Hamilton after she was thrown into jail 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now, Mariah is very important to the prosecution's case. In Melly's first trial, the prosecution said Mariah and Melly spoke on the phone after the murders of Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr. But a bigger issue was that she didn't testify in his first trial. However, her mom did.
When you first took the
Oh
stand,
yeah, I
you
remember
said,
that.
I feel threatened.
Yes, sir, I do.
Who do you feel threatened by?
So they threw his girlfriend in jail because Brian Daddy Millie was talking to her?
Yes, I do.
When he was talking to her?
So that was back in June of 2023. Fast forward to 2025, last month Mariah was arrested for civil contempt after she left the country on a birthday trip. I spoke with her attorney, Chris Barris, who told me at the time there was a whole issue on whether or not there was a warrant out for her because she didn't testify in Melly's first trial.
We talked about the possibility that there might be a warrant in existence. The prosecutor
Oh, she had a warrant.
had indicated to me at one time that there was a warrant. Other law enforcement had indicated to me that there was no warrant that they could find in the warrant system when they checked. So we did talk about that. I did not think it would be a good idea to travel internationally because what happens is when you return to the United States, even before then, immigration, U.S. immigration, that is, will check the manifest of an airline for every passenger to determine if there's any warrants or any other holds on them.
Man.
I couldn't say either way.
Why they put a warrant out her? Because they're trying to get information out of her?
My advice was not to travel at all.
So Mariah was held in jail for 2 weeks. But this past Friday, not only did Mariah appear before the judge, she was placed in the same room as her ex, who she hadn't seen or spoken with for a while, according to her attorney. But Barris had a very important question for the judge.
I have had some time to speak with Ms. Hamilton. The way I see it, Judge, there's only really one issue here today for the court to decide, and that is whether Ms. Hamilton was legally obligated to appear. The issue is not, whether Ms. Hamilton knew that the police or the prosecutors wanted to talk with her. And those are different issues. We're talking about legal obligation, not maybe a moral obligation or some other obligation. My answer to the question is no. She had no legal obligation to appear. Defense has evidence that she was not served, and I hope the court understands I was not Miss Hamilton's attorney when I believe the former prosecutor filed a motion for an order to show cause. I wasn't the attorney back then, so I don't know the events that happened back then. I'm not even sure. I haven't seen a show cause order issued by the court.
I don't think there is.
Well, that's another problem, sir, I have.
I don't think she's ever been held in direct and indirect criminal contempt. She's in custody pursuant to 942.03, the procedure for security movements.
So they're trying to get Danny, the dude,
sure.
the Mexican dude, the informant, and they're trying to get this other girl out the paint. And that's why they're trying to get
a witness coming from outside
go at the
of the
lawyer.
state. What? Again, there's a constitutional issue with that writ or warrant or whatever we call it. No notice, no opportunity to be heard. I don't have any facts that have been, I should say, the state has not presented me any facts that she was ever out of the state. So also, that document, if it is a proper writ or warrant, is stale. That document addresses a trial that happened in 2022, and I believe, I don't have it in front of me, I believe it orders that Ms. Hamilton be arrested and detained for no longer than 60 days during the period or the pendency of that trial back in 2022. So it's a stale warrant to begin with. I don't see any legal basis for her to have been arrested or to remain in custody. And,
so they're trying to get his ex free.
The initial motion, the emergency motion I filed, I did ask ultimately for an ROR. I don't think that's appropriate. I think the court must release her, no conditions. I mean, if the state feels that she's a material witness, I suppose they can serve her with a proper subpoena right now in court or before she leaves custody. I do have evidence. I can give the court evidence, but I believe it's really the state's burden to show that there was a valid subpoena served upon Ms. Hamilton as the basis for this arrest.
Well, listen, I agree with you. That's why we have release.
Well, thank you, Judge.
And what we're doing going forward here, and again, so the record's clear, I'm only proceeding under 902.15. When a defendant is held to answer on a charge for a crime punishable by death or life imprisonment, that's Mr. Melly's case.
Right.
The trial court judge at a preliminary hearing, that's what we're doing right now. They require each material witness to enter into a written recognizance to appear at the trial or forfeit a sum fixed by the trial court judge. Additional security may be required at the discretion of the trial court judge. The state's telling me that she is a material witness, that they do intend for her to appear. So I'm probably inclined to follow the state's recommendations we did with the other similarly situated witness, which is ROR. Put her on pretrial with an electronic monitor and obey the cost of the monitor. The only thing that she has to do is if she's served either by the state or by the defense, by any party, she just has to answer the summons, just like anybody else. The rules apply to her the same as everybody else. I agree. I don't think there's any legal basis to hold her in custody at this point, unless someone shows me something different. But I couldn't find anywhere in the court record where Judge Siegel or Judge Murphy or any judge found her indirect or direct contempt. This would be really a question.
So her mom was in jail. I mean, her mom was in court.
So good news for Mariah. She could get released.
And just to be clear, this was all taken up with all the documents that these motions are asking for. Her counsel, if it was previous counsel, they had all this because it's all in the appellate record. And you can pull it all up with the subpoenas and testimony by the state's investigator, transcripts, all of that is there that discusses what efforts were taken. And Judge Siegel had that hearing, ruled in favor of the state. It was taken up and it was denied on the merits.
Right. But I mean, at this point, do you have any objection to me proceeding as I was articulating?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have any objection?
Yes, I do. I think the state created this whole problem, and I don't think they should benefit or be punishing Ms. Hamilton by requiring a monitor or any kind of restriction on her freedom. The reason I say that, notwithstanding any appeal that was decided in favor of the state, there was a lie told. There was false information regarding the subpoena that was purportedly validly served upon Ms. Hamilton, and I don't think there's a basis.
So is that why they getting a retrial? Because they trying to sue his, they trying to get his lawyer out the paint too?
Punishing her by restricting her.
You get what I'm saying? They trying to give him a retrial because they trying to get his lawyer, his attorney out the paint. Ynwmelly. That's why they keep on pushing it back. Cause they trying to say, hey, unless Ynwmelly get a new lawyer, we gonna get both of them out the paint.
Yeah, I understand, Judge, but all they have to do is serve her with a proper subpoena right now. She is obligated then to appear or suffer the consequences for failure to appear. That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking just release.
I think they already tried it.
Well, no, they didn't.
And there was a warrant.
But why do you think that, Judge? Because I don't see that they did try it that way.
Well, I don't know. This is the first time law enforcement agencies called me on a Sunday at my house to tell me that someone's at an international airport with an outstanding material witness warrant on them and what asked me what I would like them to do about it. And my answer was I don't know anything about it, so I don't know what it is you would like me to do about it. So I've been going to work in this building every day for a long time. I've never seen this.
Nor have I, and I've been doing this for 30 years. I've never seen this before.
She does qualify under 902.15. Listen, at this point, it would be over your objection. And I'm not foreclosing you. You want to file the appropriate written motion. I'll give you an opportunity to have a hearing, an evidentiary hearing. You can present anything and everything would like, give the state the same opportunity to present whatever evidence, witnesses, and testimony they want. And it could be that I might agree with you and decide that wearing a monitor is a unreasonable condition. But at this point, over your objection, I'm going to follow the state's recommendation. I'm going to ROR Ms. Hamilton, so she's not in custody, but she's going to have to sign up with pretrial. They're going to have to verify her address, and then they're going to put her on an electronic monitor. That's the only restriction. I'm not putting any other restrictions on it because she's not charged with any independent crime. But if she's served with a subpoena, again, by any party, she just has to answer the subpoena, just like any other witness. What makes it unique here is that 902.15 allows this procedure only in a case of punishable by life or the death penalty. And that happens to be the case that we're involved in. I'm going to follow what the statute says. So, Ms. Wilcox, it's an ROR, standard pretrial with an open schedule. There are no other special conditions except the just checking with pretrial that they might require. I will waive the cost of the electronic monitor. And Ms. Hamilton, you got to show up some subpoenas you for a deposition or a hearing or a trial, whether that's the state or whether that's the defense. You just got to answer the subpoena. As soon as this case is done, then this obligation in 902.15 will also be.
But bad news, she has to wear an ankle monitor.
Ms. Hamilton, BSO is going to get your address.
Well, it ain't that bad. At least ain't. Is it house arrest? Or is it just probation?
Viera, Florida. Yes.
But she about to ruin her whole fucking life, bitch.
Her name is Mariah Hamilton.
Judge, does Ms. Hamilton, she's free then at this point?
Well, I think BSO has to process her out. Someone from pretrial is going to have to come talk to her. They get all of her information. They have to verify her address. Is it a house or an apartment?
A house.
Someone else live there besides you?
Yes.
Someone that can verify the address there?
I live with my dad.
Okay, so as soon as they talk to her dad and they verify the address, they're going to put the ankle monitor. She'll be released.
Okay.
Okay?
So what happens next? Well, Mariah had to sign a written promise she would appear for all future court dates and stay in touch with her attorney and the prosecutors on the case. As for Melly, he'll remain behind bars, but will be back inside that courtroom for another hearing slated for next week. Melly is set to appear before the judge again on Tuesday, February 18th for another motions hearing. His retrial is a few months away. That's scheduled to begin in September of this year. And as of this recording, Raven Liberty is still listed as one of his attorneys.
So I guess in this one, she trying to get her ankle monitor taken off?
Pastor, you ready for me to go back on?
Ready, sir?
Your client is present?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton, where are you at? Okay, come on up. Okay, let me go back on the record.
So I guess they released her. They have released her.
1872 CF10A. The reason that we're here today, this is an emergency motion to vacate, which is filed on behalf of Mariah Hamilton, who is a material witness in the case. Can I get the lawyers to announce their appearances for the record?
Yes, Christopher Barris or Ms. Hamilton.
Justin Griffiths, behalf of the state, joining us on Zoom are Ms. Buckaloo and Ms. Collins.
Boy.
All right, I got them both on the same call. So, counsel, I did read the emergency motion to vacate, which was electronically filed February 7th.
She all up in it now.
Likewise, read the statutes and the authorities cited therein. So, any evidence, witnesses, or testimony that you'd like to present? Go ahead.
Not at this time.
Just your argument?
I think that the court can decide based on my pleading.
So, Mr. Griffiths, let me ask you, since you're the one that's here, with the state's position on the defense emergency motion to vacate, they want me to take the ankle monitor off this one.
No, Judge, State would be objecting based upon the fact that the writ was issued in the first place and the difficulties in securing her presence for trial.
Okay, so listen, again, not that I'm certainly not foreclosed to reconsider this at a later point in time. And for the record, I did read the motion, and there's a lot in here about 942.03, and Mr. Barris's position is that that's not applicable to Ms. Hamilton, and he's probably right about that. That's why I released her from custody the first time that I saw her. However, I did look at everything in the electronic docket. was not the trial judge back then handling this case. I'm not making any judgments or finding any facts about it. But there does seem to be an awful lot of pleadings, emails, letters, pleadings, notices, that there were some issues going on about cooperation with witnesses. So there's an easy way to do this, there's a hard way to do it. It would appear the prior judge that handled this case came to the conclusion that Ms. Hamilton was a hard way to do these things. I don't think anyone that's not charging a crime should be under any form of security anyway under normal conditions. However, this isn't a normal condition. The state's identified her as a material witness. I do have 902.15. Again, this is only applicable when someone is facing life imprisonment or the death penalty. Mr. Devins is in fact facing the death penalty. All she, just like any other witness, has to do is come to court. Either side wants them to come to court to a deposition, to a motion, or to a hearing. And as soon as that responsibility is concluded, that will end the security that's been put in place, which I have chosen to be an ankle monitor as opposed to posting some form of monetary bond. So at this point, respectfully, I'm going to deny the emergency motion to vacate. It's going to stay right the way it is. And again, I'm not foreclosing either side filing whatever motion in the future. If you want to need time for an evidentiary hearing, I'm happy to do that. And again, I'm always ready, willing, and able to listen to any evidence, witnesses, or testimony that either side wants to present regarding the issue. But based only on what I've read in the electronic docket and what's been in the pleadings, because that's the only thing that's been presented to me, I'm just not comfortable doing anything else at this time. So that's what it is.
Your Honor, I don't understand where you're deriving your authority from. Can you explain that for the record?
Well, I mean, actually, I usually don't have to answer lawyers' questions, but this is security. The security is the ankle monitor. I mean, the alternative would be, do you want me to take the ankle monitor off, put her back in jail, and set a monetary bond for her to go?
Damn. Why does she want the ankle monitor off, bitch? You want to be free or you want to be in jail at this point? The fuck?
That's where I'm getting the authority from, sir.
Take an end. You give an end to take them out. Damn, bitch.
Again, Ms. Hamilton.
She might be, I guess they're trying to say she a key witness or some shit.
She should testify at a deposition, at a hearing, or at a trial, wherever that may be. State or defense. All you gotta do is show up, honor the subpoena, and then as soon as
the reason they put on ankle monitor because she didn't show up the last time. I guess when they put a warrant on her, and she went on law and crime.
No, Your Honor.
And told her she knew that she was on. Like, why you tell law and crime? Bitch, they work for 12, bitch. Come on, man. The name is called Law and Crime, bitch. The fuck? You just went on law and crime today. Oh, they gonna keep the secret. Nah, bitch, they gonna tell it to 12. The fuck is you doing? You ain't your buddies?
State versus Willie Ward, 15-10015 CF10A. So as soon as I have you present, I have all the parties present for that. We'll go.
That's a mama. That's the one who was in court last time. So who family is that? Is that Ynwmelly family in the back? It's like you gotta be a special type of special ed. You go on law and crime and say you knew you had a warrant. Like what the fuck is you doing? So that's it right here. Shout out to Rap Realm, man.
During the trial of Ynwmelly, you could have cut the tension in the air with a knife. With Melly potentially facing the death penalty, the jury had to decide if Melly killed both of his friends, and the reasons given for why Melly killed two of his friends are truly chilling. Motive and background, For YNW fans, the sequence of events on October 26, 2018 were difficult to stomach. The first piece of news to come out was that YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser were shot multiple times. They were later driven to Memorial Miramar Hospital, where they were pronounced dead. Juvie was just 19 years of age, whereas Sack Chaser was 21. And with the success of Melly's song Murder on My Mind, the YNW crew were destined for great things. As the news broke, Melly posted on social media, "They took my brothers from me over jealousy. I know y'all watching over me. It's #YNW4L, and after, they want to see me break down and stop or in jail or a box, but my still need me. They parents need me. They family need me till we meet again, my slimes." Gradually, more and more information came out about these killings. The Sun Sentinel reported, "Before sunrise on October 26th, a Jeep Compass with the rear window punched out delivered mortally wounded Anthony Dondre Williams and Christopher Thomas, Jr. to the emergency bay of Memorial Hospital Miramar. Doctors declared them dead. Henry YNW Bortland was the driver of the Jeep, and the only passengers were the dying men. Demons YNW Melly was not at the hospital that early morning, according to police. YNW Bortland claimed that it was a drive-by, and when police investigated the incident, they came to a different conclusion. They believed that there was no drive-by, but instead, the killings came from inside the car. In February 2019, YNW Melly and YNW Bortland were charged with the murder of their two friends. It was a truly insane twist in the tale.
And 2 men are in jail this morning, including an up-and-coming Florida rapper. Both men are charged in a double murder. Police are saying the two staged a crime scene to make it look like a drive-by shooting.
The allegations were so incredible that it led many people to pause for a minute and wonder why. Why would you choose to kill two of your best friends? And on top of that, why would you do something that will only end up risking the amazing new life that both Bortland and Melly had? Melly's defense lawyers in the trial said that there was no motive for these murders. Nothing could possibly drive Melly towards killing two of his best friends, whose names he had tattooed on his face. But the prosecution gave some reasons why, and you can make your own mind. Christine Bradley was the prosecuting attorney for the YNW Melly trial. She pointed out the imbalance of power within the YNW group.
They were buddies since they grew up. But look at the stress being placed on this defendant as the only one bringing the money in, as the only person who's paying the bills.
So Melly did not kill two of his friends because he was sick and tired of paying the bills, but it did cause tension within the group, and tension was on the rise. With Melly's career approaching stardom, there were a lot of deals coming their way. The group had plans to sell the YNW brand for marketing and licensing for $500K. Given that Melly was clearly the star and the one that brought in all of the money, you would think that most of the money would go to Melly, but this was not the case. YNW Juvie was going to receive $100K, and Sack Chaser was expecting $200K, so the remaining $200K, or 40% of the deal, was going to go to Melly. And this allegation is not something that was simply hearsay online. It was an argument brought forward by the father of Juvie.
From the day one, I believe that Melly was responsible for my son's death on October 26th.
Juvie's father even had the chance to FaceTime Melly and Bortland. He did not get the reaction he anticipated.
His explanation, when I finally talked to him and Cortland on a FaceTime, their response and how they was reacting, they showed no remorse. They didn't act like they was grieving, like they lost a best friend or nothing. They was, in my opinion, they was in the best spirits.
And then Juvie's father drops a bit of a bombshell. Melly's defense lawyers argue that Melly would never kill two of his close friends. But if Melly was so close with Juvie, why did he not go to his funeral? And this probably prompted Juvie's dad to speak out in the media. Melly not attending the funeral is a big red flag. However, Melly did attend some of Sack Chaser's funerals. But the aunt of this victim was not happy with Melly's presence, though.
He didn't come to the funeral. He came in after, like, we were sitting down eating. Came in dancing, happy dancing. Didn't show his respects to nobody. I remember that day.
$500K seems to be quite a low figure. Or more precisely, $300K he is missing out on in this deal. Most people wouldn't kill for any money, but given Melly's net worth of about $5 million, fighting over $300K seems to be a measly sum of money. Ridiculous. It was a much bigger figure that was mentioned in the trial. $16 million was coming into Melly's manager 100K track, and this was meant to be split 4 ways to Melly, Sack Chaser, Juvie, and Bortland. The chilling reason argued is that Melly and Bortland could nab an extra $4 million each if they took Juvie and Sack Chaser out of the picture. And this does not need to be the sole reason why, but could be part of the why he did it. Instead of there being one straightforward reason why he did this, the prosecution argued that there were many reasons. The second possible reason is that these killings were gang-related. To prove a motive for this murder, the prosecution attempted to establish that Melly was a member of the G-Shine Bloods. Bradley showed multiple images of Melly making signs associated with this particular group, which begs the question, why would he make these signs if he wasn't a member of this group? To prove Melly's membership of the Bloods, the prosecution brought Detective Danny Polo to stand, who wore a ski mask to cover his identity. According to Polo, if you throw gang signs without being a member, you will quickly get checked. Polo referenced the Island Boys, a hip-hop group who learned the hard way on why you should never use signs for gangs which you are not a member.
They quickly got checked by almost every blood that could find them on social media. Then,
so that's what they said they were trying to get out the paint. That's why she was going to, they trying to lock her up, the attorney, Ynwmelly.
There are other theories circulating
and that other
about
girl
tension within the group. Sack Chaser was the person who started the YNW crew and saw himself as the CEO of the group. And he saw himself as the person who could bring Melly onto even greater heights. This seems to have caused tension with Melly's mom, who sees herself as the person who brought Melly's talents to light. A video surfaced of Melly's mom speaking about how Sack Chaser had been threatening people.
Show me text messages from Sack Chaser threatening all her friends and all these people. Like, he's about this life. But I'm saying, like, who the f*** you ever robbed? Who the f*** you ever shot at? What the f*** you ever did? You couldn't even take a f***ing weed charge.
Then Melly's mom sends out a warning.
If you don't sit your ass down and don't ever come for me, because my credentials is real.
Damn, my mom was a gangster.
Don't ever try to come for me.
And then she explains that Melly's success was because of her and not because of him.
Melly is my child, and he is gonna be great because he's talented. He's talented because his mom, not because of your little ass.
However, this theory only presents an explanation as to why Sack Chaser was killed and not Juvie. If Juvie was innocent of everything, why was he included in the alleged killing? All of these questions at some stage entered the minds of the investigators. The motive did not make sense, but the story given by Melly and Bortland did not make sense either. While all of these explanations may seem a bit muddy, the prosecution boiled it down to 3 central reasons why he killed his 2 friends. The first comes from a place of anger, alluding to the arguments between Sack Chaser and Melly's mom. The second refers to the $16 million which was supposed to be split 4 ways. And lastly, there was the resentment that Melly was bringing in all of the money. So let's take a trip back to October 26, 2018, on the night in question. It was a night that should be difficult to forget. However, the people involved and associated have varying accounts, and their recollections do not add up to evidence found by the police. Reconstruction. The initial story of what happened came from YNW Bortland. The YNW crew was working at the studio late one night and only called it a night at 3:20 a.m. Surveillance footage emerged from this night, and 2 cars were parked outside the studio, a gray Compass Jeep and a red Mitsubishi. Inside the Jeep were Melly, Bortland, Juvie, and Sack Chaser, and once Bortland steps his foot on the gas, his life would change forever. The studio was in Fort Lauderdale, and the crew were on their way back to a rented house in Miramar, where seemingly all of them were living. The first few minutes were fairly uneventful, with many passengers trying to get some sleep. The Jeep was driving slowly behind the Mitsubishi. At some point in the journey, Melly switched cars. There is no reason given as to why he changed cars, but this is the reason given by one of the YNW Melly crew. The police interviewed a member named YNW Taliban after the shooting, who was in the red Mitsubishi when this happened. He first told the police that Melly rode home with him in the Mitsubishi. It was only when they showed him the surveillance footage of Melly getting into the Jeep that these details changed. On an affidavit from the police, it read, after confronting Withers with the video evidence, he, Withers, then changed his story. Withers added Demons was in the gray Jeep initially, but along the way he got out of the Jeep and entered his red Mitsubishi. Withers stated this occurred on I-75 near the Sheridan Street exit. Withers stated he was contacted by Demons via Snapchat to pull over on I-75 and meet up. Jacoby Mills was also in the Mitsubishi during the trip, and this is where it gets even more convoluted. He said that the Jeep was driving behind the red Mitsubishi at the beginning of the journey, up until they reached the I-75 onto Miramar Parkway. There was a McDonald's along this point, so he assumed that they had stopped for food. Jacoby and YNW Taliban gave statements to the police. However, something which carries more weight than police statements is testimony. When someone gets up on the stand, the consequences of them lying are a lot worse. During the Melly trial, producer Trevion Glass was called to the witness stand. He did not bring much information on whether Melly switched cars, as he was asleep for the entire journey. His testimony will become a lot more interesting later on. It was Adrian Davis who testified right at the end of the trial, who would shed some light on the case.
Did there come a time that you were woken up before you got to the house?
Yes.
What happened?
We pulled over, and that's when Melly got in the car with us.
This was bombshell testimony and could be what saved Melly from the guilty verdict. Here was a person testifying under oath that Melly was not at the scene of the crime. And Davis has his skin in the game in two ways. Sure, he is one of Melly's friends and could be covering for him, but at the same time, he was also close friends with Juvie and Sack Chaser. The fact that Melly was apparently not inside the vehicle when these shootings happened will become very important later, as further evidence suggests otherwise. According to Bortland, they drove along on the I-595 to I-75 and exited at Miramar Parkway heading west, and it was just off the exit at SW 160th Avenue, Dykes Ard, when somebody opened fire. A drive-by occurred and Bortland was able to duck for cover, but when he emerged, he realized that his two friends, Juvie and Sack Chaser, had been shot dead. When the police looked into the evidence, they came to the conclusion that Bortland took a different route. The police obtained a warrant to search the phone records. They found that their phone locations did not match with where they said they were on the day of the shooting. Instead of driving along the freeway, they traveled further out towards the Everglades along Pembroke Ard. And another interesting revelation is that Melly's phone seemed to be in the same place as Bortland's, even after he allegedly switched cars. Phone records are not always accurate, but as the investigation unfolded, more evidence came forth which supported these claims. On Pembroke Road, the police found pieces of glass, and this glass matched the shards that went missing from the Jeep Compass. They also found gunshell casings, which were a perfect match for the bullets found inside Juvie and Sack Chaser. Curiously, no evidence was found along the road where Melly and Bortland claimed that the shooting took place. The shattered glass you would expect from a drive-by was nowhere to be found. The affidavit for Melly's arrest said, after a long and exhausting examination, no evidence was found. The detectives and officers walked the 12 blocks on foot. It should be noted, not a single report of gunshots was reported to the Broward County Communications Center, nor Miami-Dade as well. This is an important piece of evidence, or lack of it. The prosecution highlighted this in the trial. The detectives from Miramar shut down the entire length of Miramar Parkway from 160th to 172nd. They walked side by side for an hour, that mile-long stretch, looking for evidence of this drive-by. In this case, the lack of evidence is very important. There is a lack of any evidence whatsoever to support that a drive-by happened on Miramar Parkway. Additionally, there was also some video evidence from businesses who had CCTV cameras. Video evidence shows the gray Compass Jeep traveled west in the 19200 block and returned eastbound at 406 HRS. Cell site data from Demon's cell phone data corresponded with the actual crime scene location. Melly didn't make things easy for himself either. A few months after the shooting, Melly released a documentary about himself and the YNW crew. But right at the end of the film, the screen contains the words. 4 days after the completion of this film, YNW Melly and his friends were the targets of a drive-by shooting in Miami, Florida. Why did it say Melly and his friends? Melly was supposedly in a different car when this happened, and this is where things get very complicated. Bortland claims that the drive-by came from the right side of the vehicle where Juvie and Sack Chaser were seated. The autopsy report said, evidence from the autopsy revealed that both victims' wound paths to their heads were from a left to right direction. This directly contradicts the statements made by Henry and does not support the statements of a drive-by shooting that occurred on the right side of the vehicle. So bullets came from the right side of the vehicle. But according to Bortland, the only person on the right side of the car at this stage was Bortland. Eventually, Bortland arrives at the hospital, and there is CCTV footage to back this up. However, something didn't add up. Bortland did not reach the hospital until 4:35 a.m. The autopsy claimed that there was a period of time between them being shot and brought to the hospital. Bortland didn't immediately bring his friends to A&E as you would expect. The police reported evidence shows that Henry and Demons drove around for a period of time with the two dead victims in their vehicle prior to entering the hospital. This was a calculated effort to establish their version of the incident in an attempt to deceive law enforcement. When they arrived at the A&E, the car contained 3 people at this time: Bortland, Juvie, and Sack Chaser. The latter 2 were pronounced dead right at the scene. Melly was apparently dropped off.
I was
Back at the house,
confused.
the
I
people who
always thought
traveled
that
home in the red Mitsubishi found out about the shootings and the supposed drive-by. Jacoby Mills, if you can recall, thinks that Melly never switched cars and was in the Jeep at the time. And according to Mills, the crew who were back at the house then traveled to Fredo Bang's house, where Melly and Bortland currently were. When Jacoby arrived at Fredo Bang's house, he noticed that Melly was wearing different clothes. Travion has confirmed that Melly was indeed wearing different clothes.
Was Melly wearing the same clothes or different clothes than when you saw him at the studio?
It was a little bit, nah, he wasn't.
Nah, he wasn't. You guys
wasn't wearing the same clothes.
Jacoby claims that afterward, he, Melly, Bortland, and Melly's manager went out to a wooded area where Bortland had hidden some guns. One of these guns was covered in blood, and Melly's manager told him that he would get rid of it. Presumably, Melly and Bortland dispute these claims. Fredo Bangs would have been a key witness to this trial, but has refused to cooperate with the police. At the same time, the police made a big mistake in searching Fredo Bangs' house afterward, as it was another important place connected to the crime, evidence and defense.
They didn't have no warrant.
As I mentioned earlier, Melly did not do himself any favors when it came to investigating this case. There are text messages from Melly's phone that do not paint him in a good light, nor do they represent the actions of an innocent man. 2 months before the murder, he texted his mom, "Get me a Glock."
What's up? Chilling on it, man.
Go now.
Can't
I
call
just
it.
don't want no illegal gun. And
What
there
you
are
up
some
to?
suspicious aspects of Melly's texts that shed further
That
light
work
on his
in?
gang affiliations.
Yeah.
Melly is alleged to be a member of the Bloods.
You did. Get in that bag, though.
Are the Crips. For this reason, it is quite common for Bloods members to regularly omit the letter C's in regular words and replace it with B. Danny Polo looked at Melly's phone and said that he often substitutes the letter C with the letters B, K, or X in messages, which can be an indicator of affiliation with the group. In December 2018, Melly was also in regular communication with a guy called Gino, a G-Shine member. One message from Gino said, "I want you to really think about the power you possess, little brother. I'm just here to show you how to use it." Gino also uses slang terms like Ascari and Don, which are associated with the G-Shine Bloods. And in December that year, one text gives the impression that Melly was being recruited by the Bloods. Gino wrote, "Once the family get a real glimpse of how you rock with me, it's all access granted. Be like a young Nicky Scarfo." A week later, Gino wrote, "I'm here to help you, but I refuse to not be helped back. In all actuality, you don't with me or the set. I'm beefing with in Florida. I don't even know SMH. Why are you even around?" There's also some evidence that Melly and his team paid off a potential witness. During the time of the crime, Melly was dating a woman named Mariah Hamilton, and he FaceTimed her that night. During an argument, he also sent her a Snapchat message where he talks about the amazing favor Bortland has done for them. I keep Bortland with
That's what we just got done watching, gang.
One of the realest in my life. This and saved my life. He coming everywhere with me. Cause if them crackers come grab him, it's my fault you forgot.
You know them crackers
For some
gonna
strange
come.
reason, Hamilton's mother received a lot
Ain't
of money
everybody
from Melly's
business, but they
manager,
own.
100K Trap, and she has some quite damning messages on Instagram. The promises that were made to us by YNW for me to quit my job and they would take care of us were all lies. They didn't want us talking with prosecutors, but now they have all disappeared. I quit my job based on what Track and his wife or company said. Now look, we can't go home. We spending all my money I worked for and they taking trips and enjoying life. If you think I was a beast before, wait until this trial. I'm not holding anything back. They can call me Mim Snitch. The location of Melly throughout the night was up for debate. However, after the shooting, Melly sent a drop pin to Fredo Bangs, whose real name is Frederick Givens, in the hopes that he would come pick him up. The prosecution said, "What you're also going to find out is that while Mr. Demons is out on the road at 4 in the morning, he sends a drop pin to his current location to one of his friends, Frederick Givens. Frederick Givens is also involved in the music industry, and Melly asked to be picked up."
Remember, gang, the court already got all this information, gang. They got everything. You understand that? This man, was they talking? They already got this shit, man. The only reason the same Ynwmelly was the jury.
Keep bothering me because at the end of the day, it's still active. It's still in trial.
That public perception.
Squeeze anybody they can who they think got something going on or think could be involved to where they can get some information. Being that we friends, I expect them to bother me. But there is one text message which the prosecution holds crucial evidence. In fact, they believe it is Melly confessing to the murders, and this message sent by Melly is quite damning and incredibly difficult for the defense to explain away. When news got out that Juvie and Sack Chaser had been shot, a lot of friends reached out to Melly to see if he was okay. He responded to one of his friends with,
"I did that."
However, the defense spotted something unusual about this text. They examined other texts from Melly. Melly's lawyer said, "These phone messages that the state introduced, pages that we painfully went through, he spells it D-I, not T-H-I-T. What a strange thing." The defense retorted that Melly sometimes spells that with Ats too.
And that bitch, she got kicked off because she did something,
technology used these
and she got fired from the case.
Drive-by is incredibly difficult. The science of ballistics means that experts can look at bullets and bullet wounds and conclude the distance and direction of where these bullets came from. Ballistics tests for the investigation found that the bullets came from inside the Jeep. By now, you're probably wondering, if this was a drive-by, then surely there would be shots along the side of the vehicle. And the Jeep did indeed have bullets along the side. However, when experts looked into the damage on the side of the vehicle, they noticed that the bullets were not shot by someone in a moving vehicle, but someone completely still.
All but one is done at a stationary position. The
shooters at a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in.
While all of this information would point towards the fact that this was a cover-up, it is not an open and shut case that Melly and Bortlen did these killings. In fact, there is some very compelling evidence that supports Melly and Bortlen's innocence. Objects in the Jeep such as Gucci slides, a shell casing, bloodstains on clothes, and a pair of Jordans were tested. They could not find any evidence of Melly's DNA from inside the Jeep. The only DNA the prosecution had supporting their case was on the door handle. Tests say that it could have been Melly's. However, this DNA test was suspiciously done only a few days before the trial, and it almost looked as if the state was trying to invent evidence when they couldn't find it. As well as DNA, the investigation looked into evidence of gun residue. After firing a gun, there should be bits of residue.
They trying to get these niggas out the paint.
Face after the shooting. Interestingly,
they don't want to take an L.
Residue was found on Melly, and they could not locate a gun. We have a rather confusing situation where gunshot residue was found inside the car, but not on Melly. The defense also presented some compelling arguments in Melly's favor. One of their biggest arguments is that a lot of the information from Melly's phone is a little complicated. The YNW crew had communal phones and regularly changed them, which cast doubts over the texts, but particularly cast doubt on the cell phone location. Ultimately, Melly's lawyer's biggest defense was that the state had years to investigate, but still haven't come up with a conclusive and definitive explanation as to why Melly killed two of his friends. During the entire trial, a lot of the information seemed to be muddy.
One day, nigga, get out this motherfucker, man, because nobody want to be locked up in prison and get the death penalty, bitch.
And this is why the jury finally came to their conclusion.
Today, the judge in the Ynwmelly double murder case declared a mistrial after the jury wasn't able to reach a unanimous decision.
Melly's lawyer said,
prosecutors are given great power, endless resources to perform their mission of pursuing justice. But that's not what occurred here.
And goes on to say how poorly investigated this case was.
Shout out to Tyler Joy too, man. He created the video.
With reasonable doubt. That is founded upon an incompetent, incomplete investigation and the exercise of poor judgment at every turn.
The result may have been a mistrial. However, it's important to note that the jury were not simply asked whether Melly did it or not. They were asked if they thought Melly did not beyond any reasonable doubt. So if they were in two minds, they had to go with not guilty. For the next trial, the horrifying consequences for Melly are still on the table. He could spend decades behind bars and even face the death penalty. And in Florida, they recently changed the rules to receive the death penalty. You don't need every member of the jury to find you guilty.
Oh, shit.
8 of the 12 jurors need to find you guilty. Melly is in the same limbo he found himself in February 2019. And the following trial is sure to bring even more drama. Thank you for watching. Click on the videos you see in front of you.
Damn.
I'll be back. See, y'all see for that bitch, man? I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if they might try to send his lawyer to jail because they trying to get YNW death penalty. Get what I'm saying, Crip. They trying to give him death penalty. But like I said, man, thank God it's a jury trial. You know what I'm saying? Thank God it's a jury trial, and it's not like it's not a judge who doing a verdict. Even though it might be kind of worse if it was all white people, because you know white people gonna try to kill anybody, kill all the niggas they could. But thank God, you know, it's a jury trial, so it can like. That's what saved him last time, because they was debating and shit, and two people looked up and they got him out the paint, so we didn't have to get his verdict. But you look at the end of the video, it shows you why she is got a warrant out for her arrest, because I guess they were trying to say that when that night happened, he was talking to her and he was showing her videos and all types of crazy ass shit. I just hope they free Melly. Been going on long enough. Prayers out to the family, because I know people did pass away. So hey, this how you know life is crazy, man. When you a big time rapper, man, you got enemies everywhere. Like I'm an up and coming rapper, and I got enemies everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it just goes to show you anybody can be your enemy, the family, anybody. So hey, I hope everything goes alright, and we out this bit hood, outside, big crip in the gang, outside shit.
Hey, Dad, you know, dog, when we link up, dog, this shit be legendary. You know this instrumental, you the engineer on it, so Kodak everywhere.